What's going on, guys? Jeff Porter from Roll for New GM. Today, a little bit of a different video, something I've been wanting to do for a while now. We kind of got onto like this news cycle and it was really cool. Well, we'll jump back into it, but I kind of wanted to step back to what I originally wanted to create this channel for, which is more tabletop creative things, writing your stories, making 3D terrain, stuff like that. So finally, I did something I've always wanted to do, and I made some stuff. I tried kind of situating things, getting a better angle, the over-the-shoulder shot. I'm half an idiot, so I was having some trouble making space and getting everything to fit. But I think I'm going to start doing a lot more things like this, and so I'll get that system set up. So throughout this video, I just have like some little clips and stuff that I took with my phone of like the progress and how I went about it. So hopefully you guys can kind of see step by step how I did it. So first things first, I went to the dollar store, Dollar Tree here where I live. For less than 10 bucks, I got everything that you need. Pack of paper plates. Not paper plates, foam plates. It's a foam thing. A piece of Ready Board foam. I think this is the Ready Board brand. It's just foam board. Just, what your kids make their projects and stuff on. And you can see it's a big piece of board for $1, and I only used one 6x6 piece. So you can get all of this stuff and make just a ton of tiles. Aluminum foil, I already had aluminum foil, but you could get it at the dollar store for $1. I had some utility knives, box cutter, stuff like that, but I picked up a $1 craft knife. If you have a box knife, you probably just use that. I had a lot of issues with this. It's really cheap, and it kind of wiggles back and forth. It's as tight as it'll go, and it's what you get for $1. I got some super glue. I really like the gel kind, especially for this. You could just put a little bead on there, push it down, kind of smear it around, and it doesn't run all over the place like regular super glue. And especially on foam, that regular super glue would probably, other than just be a mess, it would just run all over, and it might even melt the foam. But the gel super glue was great. You could get that for $1, 2-pack. And then at the Dollar Tree that I have here, they have like the dollar paints. You could get a $1 acrylic paint thing, or they had a 12-pack of these little things for like $3, because now they go up to $5. It's not Dollar Tree anymore. But I got this little 12-pack for $3. So I spent less than 10 bucks for everything in this video. Also, I did create this little guy. I might do a separate video on that. First trying to figure everything out. I like, the way it turned out, but obviously there's a lot more things that I learned. And that's kind of what I want this series to be. I want to start from zero. I've never done anything like this, to show you that it doesn't matter. You don't need to be a pro. You don't need to be the most creative person in the world. If you have time and a little bit of patience, you can create some awesome terrain and stuff for your TTRPGs. So I'm going to jump into some of these clips. You can kind of see how I started and what I'm doing. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about it over top of the video. So I started with just cutting a 6x6 inch square out of the foam board. So I went on Reddit and I watched a bunch of videos and stuff, seeing how other people do it. There's this really thin paper on the Ready Board that just kind of peels off. And obviously you don't want to just build on that because the paper could peel off. And so you just kind of grab the corner of it and peel it off, and then you just are left with the foam. So once I had the 6x6 piece, I kind of lightly drew in my grid just so I had some guidelines and stuff. And then I went to the foam plate. On the foam plates, you have the raised corners on it. And so I just went in, cut out the inside of the circle, so it's all flat. And then originally I just kind of went through and started cutting out different stones, different sizes, different shapes. And personally for me, I realized, because I wanted to keep the look of my 1x1 grid, and I was kind of getting too big, too small. So what I did was, this is completely up to preference, I cut the 1x1 grid into the foam plate, and then I was left with these little squares, and then I just cut out the rocks from those squares. So I had a little bit better of a guideline, a little bit better of a basis. And then something that I was supposed to do first was using your aluminum foil, roll it up into a ball, and then kind of press it down and roll it into the foam plate. You want to do this when it's still a plate, because I started doing it after I cut out the 1x1 squares, and it's still doable. It just added a little bit of extra time, and it was kind of annoying. Easier just do the whole thing at once. You just roll it in, and then you get this cool stone texture. I was really surprised actually by like how well this worked. So after I got all of these stones cut out, I just put a little dollop, just a little bit of the super glue gel, and then I'd push it down. Didn't take long for it to set. You can kind of move it around a little bit, push it down, and it was ready to go. So I just started going 1x1 all the way down my grid, adding in different shaped blocks, different size stones, and just started kind of mixing and matching them as much as I could. Once I got everything down, I think it took me about an hour. I was listening to a couple episodes of South Park in the background. I think it was about 2 episodes, so it was probably about an hour. I got all of my stones down. I maintained the grid look. I really like how it turned out like that. And then I just did a base coat of a gray. Nothing too fancy, just a base coat of gray, got it around everywhere, and I was already like really happy with how it looked. I could have stopped there, and honestly, if you want to, you can. Like, if you think that looks how you want your dungeon to look, more power to you. Keep it that way. I did decide to go in and I added some greens and some browns just to kind of mix up the different tiles, add some color to it, and make it pop just a little bit more. Obviously, it's your dungeon. You can make it whatever you want. I will say one thing is this cheap dollar store acrylic paint is very finicky. I had a lot of trouble with it, kind of building up the layers. Obviously, if you have, you know, some craft paint and you've done stuff like this before, you'll have that better paint. With this dollar store stuff, I did have to do like 2 or 3 coats, and even then, I didn't get the Mod Podge on there. If you have Mod Podge, if you pick up those little bottles at the dollar store, I would definitely highly recommend it. I didn't get it on, and so you can see there's a lot of those white spots that kind of rubbed off. You know, I do kind of like it a little bit, though. It kind of adds a little bit of grunge and dirtiness to the dungeon, and I mean, what dungeon's gonna be spotless, right? So in the end, I learned a lot, and I think you just gotta do it. It's the first one you make, probably not gonna be the best. All right, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and say the first time you do it, it's gonna look great. You can see mine. It is not perfect. You know, there's a lot of the paint that came off. Some of the layers aren't right. There's some really thin gray parts where you can kind of see through the foam to the other side. But all in all, I learned a great deal. I learned what not to do. I learned to texture the whole plate before I cut it up, working in layers. So it is completely doable for less than $10. And I keep showing this. So this is one piece of a 6x6 dungeon tile, and you get an entire board. Like, look how much you can make out of this. There's at least 1, 2, maybe 3 across that you can go, and probably double that going down. And it doesn't have to be a 6x6. You can make a 3x3, a 3x6, a 2x2, whatever you wanted to make, whatever shape and size. If you wanted to make an L shape, you can. It's your dungeon. So at the end of the day, I would just say, just start with something like this. Maybe even a 3x3. I think if I had started even a little bit smaller, it might have, you know, I could have focused more on a 3x3 inches as opposed to a 6x6. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think it turned out a lot better than I thought it would. I really like kind of that angle. You can kind of see the stones. There's a little bit of depth to them. You can see the grout lines. And then obviously if you wanted to paint the sides and the bottom, throw some paint on there, make it look good. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with this. If you like the video and you want to see me do more stuff like this, definitely let me know, because it's something that I would love to expand the channel into. Less than $10, you could get 1 million out of these out of one board. Until next time, friends.